The attorney was prepared for his 2 o'clock appointment. He had come to believe over the years that preparation was the most important facet of any task. It was a principle he applied to every aspect of his life: his work, his home and family, coaching little boys in baseball. Preparation was the key. He had the file of the client open on his desk. He had perused it for 5 minutes, refreshing his memory. The client was a man named Charles Delkins. He was a computer expert. He worked on his own. A brilliant man, susceptible to daydreaming, his mind not intent on the business before him. Wandering, the attorney had no doubt among the innumerable steps of some terribly intricate software program. When the attorney had seen him some 4 years before, it had been in reference to structuring his business efficiently with regard to taxes and liability. The attorney had been able to help him with the liability and had referred him to another partner in the firm in the matter of the taxes. The attorney remembered the man as an odd sort, flighty but not unusual for the type, one who worked alone at a highly technical, completely cerebral occupation. Delkins, who preferred to be called Charlie, the attorney recalled, had been married with 2 children, a boy and a girl. They would be teenagers now. The marriage had since ended. The attorney knew that because Delkins had called him asking for legal advice about a divorce, and the attorney had referred him to someone he knew outside the firm. The attorney and his partners tried to avoid divorce proceedings unless they involved old clients or irresistibly large estates. At 2 o'clock promptly, the attorney received his client with a smile and a warm handshake. He felt entirely comfortable with the meeting, except for one slight omission. He had no notion of why the client wanted to see him. That was irregular. He had asked his secretary to press Delkins for a reply, but she said he refused to answer, stating only that he wished to see the attorney on a matter of important personal business. Well, what could that be? Probably nothing, but he was curious, and he could afford the 5 minutes it would take to find out. 5 minutes out of his schedule wouldn't be the end of the world. If it was a trifle, Mr. Delkins could be referred with a smile and a handshake as warm as the one he had encountered on the way in. And those 5 minutes would cost him $300 for the privilege of consultation. "Charlie," the attorney said, "good to see you again. How's it been going?" Delkins took a seat, and the attorney established himself behind his desk. He noted that the client's beard had grown since he'd seen him last, and it needed trimming. Probably the man, now living alone, was letting himself go. "Fine, not bad," said Delkins. "I got divorced. I guess you knew that. But that's not what I came to see you about." The attorney noticed that the client seemed agitated, kept glancing around as if there were other people hidden in the room. He felt a sense of excitement coming from the man, a condition just short of alarm. "Well, let's get to it then," the attorney said, adjusting a legal pad before him and picking up a pencil. "What can I do for you?" "I want to tell you something that's happened to me," said the client. "Something wonderful. I know it will sound incredible, but it's true, every word of it." The attorney nodded, fully alerted to disbelieve every word the man might say. "All right," he said, smiling. "I met God," the client said, his eyes suddenly riveted on the attorney, no longer flicking from side to side. Keeping his composure, the attorney met the gaze and raised his eyebrows, thinking the announcement deserved some kind of recognition. "I met him in a bar," said the client. I know, an unlikely place. But think about it. What place would be likely? A barn? Under a tree? In a church? A church is the last place you'd see him. God has nothing to do with any religion. They are all corrupt, pathetic shams. I knew that before I met him, but I don't want to get sidetracked into that." "How did you know it was God?" the attorney said. "Think about it," the client said. "He was God. I could tell." "He didn't say anything?" "He didn't have to. His majesty was apparent to me. He revealed himself, though I know it was only a fraction of his true being." "Just enough for you to know," the attorney said. "Precisely, that's right," said the client. "What did he look like?" The client gestured impatiently. "That's not important," he said. "He could have appeared in any shape, any manifestation he wanted. What's important is that he chose to make himself known to me. He paused and smiled at the attorney. I've been transformed, he said. I have been chosen. Well, you're right, Charlie, said the attorney as affably as he could. This is incredible. I told you, the man said intently. What did he want? Said the attorney. He enlisted me to work for him, said the client. He wanted me to help him sell scents, aromatics, fresheners, perfumes. Now listen, Charlie, the attorney said, believing he had pursued this far enough. I know, said the client, holding up his hands to mollify the other man. I know what you're going to say. Don't worry, there are no aerosols involved. No, Charlie, the attorney started to say. Oh, I see, said the client. Well, what would you expect? A carpenter? Insurance? A prophet on TV? No. He is a traveling salesman, that's all. Unassuming, humble, pious. Charlie, you can't be serious, the attorney said. Oh, I am. I've never been more serious about anything in my life, said the client. Of course I was skeptical myself at first, but in the face of the evidence I surrendered myself to him completely, gladly. What do you say? I don't exactly know what to say, Charlie, said the attorney. I mean, would you like to meet him? Oh, no, said the attorney. I really don't think so, Charlie. And you shouldn't, I really don't think you should. Don't try to stop me, said the client, raising his voice. I must do this. I must serve him. It's the opportunity of my life. What about your business, the attorney said. I wasn't put here to tell machines what to do, the client scoffed. There is more important work. Cleverness is just another temptation. All around us are the powers of Satan, working furiously against him, vastly outnumbering, trying to overthrow his domain. Each one of us has to choose. Are you with him or against him? That is the only question that matters, and there is no middle ground. The attorney sat quietly in his chair, not knowing quite what to do. He did not want to further agitate this man and cause a scene in the office, and Delkin seemed like a time bomb to him. Do you understand? Delkin said. His body had grown rigid. Yes, of course, said the attorney, trying to keep his voice soft and low. I want you to help me structure the company for him, just like you did for me, the client said. I don't think you'll want to charge for it if you're doing the work of God. Well, Charlie, the attorney said, grateful for the chance to object and escape on peripheral ground, I might have a problem with that. Delkin stared at him, his body more tense than ever. Explaining it to the other partners, the attorney said, smiling. I don't know what they'd have to say about it, and I do have a responsibility to them, financially speaking. In effect, they would either understand or be a part of Satan's network, Delkin said. He explained it all to me. It's like a great vortex swirling all around, taking us in. Creation was really the dissolution, and now the soul must seek for the final unification, the loving. Yet there are so few of us, and so many of them, tirelessly. Listen, Charlie, I want to tell you something, said the attorney. Will you do this work or not, said the client. I want you to listen to me first, said the attorney. Will you do that? Delkins appeared to be confused, then he nodded his head. A few years ago I went through what they call a midlife crisis, the attorney said. It's hard to explain and not easy to talk about. Everything came unraveled for me. Nothing seemed to make much sense. This isn't like that, Delkin said. This is, just hear me out, said the attorney. It was a very dark time in my life. I couldn't work. I could barely function. My life was shattered. I had no idea what was wrong. I had to get help from doctors. It took a long time, months, before I could recover. Now listen to me, Charlie. I think something like this is happening to you. Maybe, quite possibly, it's connected to your divorce. I really think you should get some help, like I did. I could recommend someone for you to see. I don't need help. I don't need to see anyone, said the client. My life hasn't come apart. It's suddenly all come together. I've seen God. Can't you get that through your thick head? Listen, Charlie, the attorney said, ignoring the insult. I know you think you have. I have. There's a world of difference. Charlie, you know when there's a dark black cloud on the far horizon, the attorney said. Here is what I learned about it. You can look at it and say, oh no, it's a tornado. It's coming to destroy us all. Or you can look at it and say, I believe it's going to rain. That will be good for the flowers and trees. You see what I'm saying? You're talking about the weather. It's all in the way you look at it. You're wrong, said the client. You're absolutely wrong. You haven't understood a word I've said. The urgency of it. I have seen God. I have talked to God. It's all a matter of perception, Charlie, the attorney said. What you think you saw. I saw God, said the client. I saw the one and only God, the truth, the way, the life, God, the one eternal. Okay, Charlie, said the attorney. Don't dismiss me like that, the client said. I'm not crazy. Oh, yes, I know you think I'm crazy. That's what you think. That's your perception, and you're wrong. Charlie, the attorney said, but he had run out of things to say, and he had other work to do. He has come to claim us, if we will only give our lives to him, Delkins said. The path to salvation lies in total surrender. The attorney did not reply, averted his eyes, sifted through some papers on his desk. I never should have come to see you. It was a mistake, but I had to try. It's so hard to know. The client was mumbling to himself. The attorney was wondering how he was going to accomplish the dismissal with a minimum of fuss. If he had to, he would have his secretary call security. Just then the phone rang. The client leaped to his feet, eyes blazing, and even the attorney started, as his secretary almost never allowed a call through when he was in private conference. Delkins pointed at the ringing phone. I told you, he said fiercely. Satan is everywhere. He knows what I'm trying to do, and he does everything he can to block me. The attorney started to reach for the phone. Don't answer it, Delkins fairly shrieked. It's Satan. I'm telling you, don't answer it. The attorney picked up the phone. He could almost feel the connection between himself and the client physically sever as he did so. He spoke into the phone, seeking only to further distance himself from this disturbed individual. His secretary asked him to please forgive the interruption, but it was a lawyer for the utility company, one of the firm's biggest clients. He said it was urgent, she said. All right, I'll take it, the attorney said. He put his hand over the receiver and, trying not to give evidence of his great relief, said, It's an important call, Charlie. I've got to take it. The client was already backing toward the door, his body tense, his eyes again bouncing from side to side. You're one of them, he said almost to himself. I should have known, I should have known. You have thrown away the chance of a lifetime. He left the room, nearly running. The attorney put the phone back to his ear. The lawyer from the utility was calling his name. Are you there, he was saying. Yes, I'm here, said the attorney. I thought maybe I had a bad connection, said the other lawyer. No, said the attorney, you won't believe what just happened in here. And he proceeded to tell the other lawyer briefly what had transpired in his office, ending with the client's insistence that it was Satan on the phone. I know a few people who would agree with that estimation, the lawyer said. They both laughed and remarked about what people could come to believe, how madness was a question of degree, how it seemed to be like a contagion today, and how funny it was, and how sad, too, for the man, and for his former wife and the children, especially the poor kids. And then they got on with their business, which concerned a possible settlement in a complex case that involved a great deal of money.